I've never made a 3D game in my life, but over the next 24 working hours, I'm gonna remake my 2D game about a vampire battling the police in 3D. Why? Because I suck at pixel art and I think that 3D games might actually be easier to make. Stick around to see if it really was a good idea, or I'm just a stupid idiot. First I downloaded Blender and started learning the controls. Once I got comfortable navigating, I jumped into a character creation tutorial. I finished modeling, but I feel like something is missing. Oh yeah, eyes are kinda important. I'm extremely proud of my artistic masterpiece, but it looks dull and lifeless. Time to add some color. It took me a whole 30 minutes to figure out how to paint on the mesh, but now I'm finally ready to make him fabulous. Introducing Sir Stickman. Is it just me or this guy looking kinda sick? Okay, I added him to the game and started working on movement. I used all my knowledge from 2D game development, wisdom of YouTube tutorials, to present you... Okay, never mind. It took a couple of attempts to fix it, but now he's fine. To avoid re-implementing things I'd already done, I imported all the files from my 2D game into this new project. For example, I can just reuse my 2D camera script instead of writing a new one. To fix it, I will use a very advanced developer trick that only senior programmers understand. No code, no problems. Almost. Next, I started to set up the collision for the game. And the collider just left the chat immediately. Years of coding experience. Dozens of finished 2D projects. Didn't help me to find these two checkboxes in a reasonable time. But now he finally moves, though he's not actually walking, so I guess animations are next. Animating has always seemed so fun to me. I'm excited to learn how to craft animations myself and feel proud of my hard work. Or I can just let someone else do the hard work for me. So I downloaded ready-to-use animations from Mixamo and merged them in Blender, which I shouldn't have done, but we'll get to that later. And after adding them to the game, I accidentally implemented Stickman's superposition. Alright, I brought back the boring laws of physics, and now it's time for the next level, ragdolls.
Let's get this party started.
Turns out Unity has a built-in function for making ragdolls, so this should be super easy. Just drag and drop the necessary bones, and it's done. Exactly as I planned. 30 minutes later, I finally discovered that the model needs to be in the T-pose for the ragdoll system to work properly. Now I can spend another 30 minutes fixing it, or I can work smarter, not harder. And by that I mean just give up and move on to something more fun. Specifically making a city. Or taking a city.
Wow, look at this city. It's so detailed, so realistic, so empty. Where's everyone? The people? The pigeons? Is it a test scene? Oh no, I was never meant to exist in the final game. Please do not delete me. I swear I can be useful.
I discovered the wonderful world of Sketchfab, a treasure trove of free high-quality models. It's like piracy, but legal. So I imported the city and you'll never guess, the colors were broken, so I had to spend some time fixing them. To avoid spending another century debugging movement and camera issues, I downloaded a ready-to-use 3D person controller asset. Should save me a lot of time. Oh come on! Okay, Stickman is fixed, but he feels a little lonely. Nobody's watching his awesome dance. Except my Instagram followers, because they already saw this dance on my Instagram page and knew I was going to turn this game into 3D. So go subscribe if you don't want to miss anything. As for these guys, I can definitely tell they haven't subscribed yet. And look what happened to them in Blender. Not that it's related or anything, but just in case. Now my new citizens are here, but they're a little lifeless. Not exactly the best company for Stickman. So I started copy-pasting my old 2D character code and trying to port it into 3D. After just a little bit of 60 minutes of effort, I finally got them moving in 3D. Now I just need to set up the animations. Working with the animator feels like building with Lego. Super satisfying and totally effortless. Look how happy Stickman is. Finally he has people to watch him dance. And the best dance award goes to this spinning guy!
What?
Then I spent another 60 minutes making citizens open doors and disappear inside a building when they reach the destination. That may not sound like a good time investment, but check out the result. Okay, maybe it wasn't a good time investment. Alright, I need to remember the 80-20 rule. 20% of the effort gives 80% of the results. So let's stick to that and stop wasting time on things that don't matter anymore. Following this rule, I decided not to waste time searching for or creating a main character model. So meet our new main character, Random Lady number 57. I set up a new animator using zombie animations from Mixamo and attached a damage dealing sphere to the main character's hand. Now the angry vampire lady can run around the city slapping citizens and making them frightened, just like any good protagonist. But hey, have you ever thought, if a woman is angry, maybe she just needs some love? Or maybe a working animation system? Because that would definitely make anyone less angry. Working with the animator isn't fun anymore. Every time I add a new action, I have to figure out how it interacts with other states. For example, I can start attacking when I'm idle, or while running, or right after another attack. Also, the animator and the character code need to work in sync, so that all turned out to be a nightmare. After another 30 minutes, I made the character stop while attacking and applied animation motion. So the character moves forward when the attack starts and moves back when the attack ends. Totally worth 30 minutes. Okay, scared citizens look fun, but ragdolls are much cooler. So I'm going to turn citizens into ragdolls when they get hit. I already have experience with ragdolls. So this should be a piece of cake.
I don't think so. No, 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 no. I don't think so. No, 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 no. It's never, ever, 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 ever gonna happen. I don't think so. No, 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 no. I don't think so. No, 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 no. It's never, ever, 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 ever gonna happen.
Okay, so it took me half an hour to fix the ragdolls and another 15 minutes to properly apply force to them. So after 45 minutes, I am finally able to do this. But citizens disappear way too abruptly. I want to replicate the body fading effect from my 2D game. I spent 20 minutes figuring out how to make the models fade away, and as always, the solution was stupidly simple. Yeah. But this created a new problem, they were always a little bit transparent. So I made it so the citizens switch their material a few seconds after they get knocked out. In total, I spent 40 minutes just making bodies fade. 80-20 rule, 80-20 rule, remember, 80-20 rule. The transition between the attack and the subsequent movement is too slow and unnatural. 50 minutes to make it better! Why am I so dumb? Game development, where you work for hours just to make a slap feel slightly more satisfying. Now the vampire woman runs around the city and attacks her prey with excellence. And absolutely nobody protects them. That's unacceptable in our city. It needs heroes. Luckily, there's a hero in this free character pack. And it's also a woman. In a world where men are useless, they witness an epic battle between women. Women bustle. Wishlist. I repeated all the steps for importing the new police character and copied the citizen logic. Remember how it took me 1 hour to make the first broken ragdoll? Now it took me 3 minutes and it works perfectly right off the bat. Expertise! I imported the gun, but you'll never guess! Missing textures. So I set them up myself and started positioning the gun in police hands. The police officer is here, she's fearless, she's intimidating, and she's absolutely unable to walk properly. She's just sliding on the ground and I can't figure out why. The original animation itself is completely fine. For 20 minutes I tried to fix it, but instead I turned her into a TikTok dancer. Why it's not working? Desperate, I turned to YouTube University, and an actually smart guy showed me how to fix this. Are you ready? I feel so stupid. Okay, the police look very intimidating, but they're actually completely defenseless right now. Let's fix that. When crime strikes, the police strike back. With cannonballs! No, wait. Burning cannonballs! Realistic? No. Effective? Also no. Just don't question my decisions. Oh, never mind, there's just bouncy balls. After a bit of work, the main character also turns into a ragdoll after taking damage. And unlike many other devloggers, I will not insert 2 minutes of footage showing me suffering with bullet collision bugs. I'll just enable the fix bullet bugs checkbox in the inspector. Okay, so the enemies can shoot at me, but at this point they're just angry turrets with decorative legs. Luckily, I already built a great enemy behavior system in my 2D game, so this should be easy to solve, right? Haha, welcome to game dev, where every dimension doubles the pain. Even though there are a lot of difficulties, some things are actually easy in 3D. For example, I don't need to flip the gun sprite depending on the angle between the enemy and the player. The enemy just holds the gun the right way. Unfortunately, that's where the easy part ends. After I brought back the old wave manager, the police spawn from buildings just like citizens. But they also get stuck there, shoot through walls and sink in sidewalks. To fix this, I cleaned up the map, removed the cars and added colliders to the sidewalks and buildings, so nobody and nothing can get through them. But the bullets don't seem to agree with this rule. They are still passing through buildings. So, fix bullet bugs doesn't apply to cannonballs apparently. Turns out I just reused the 2D bullets code, and in that version, bullets never actually cared about buildings. I've lost my count of how many times I felt stupid in this challenge. The 2D game had a second type of enemy, the rifle police, so I'm gonna add them too. I don't think it'll be too difficult. I downloaded a bunch of new animations from Mixamo and set up a completely new animator for the rifle police with slightly more complex state management. It already looks much better than the pistol police, I'll show it to you in a second. Whoa! Ah, it's just the light source of the imported rifle model. I attached it to the new enemy and it automatically synced between two animations. Nice! Well, at least the ragdolls work properly. I started debugging the behavior. Unity has an incredible feature where you can pause the game scene to check enemy states in real time. What the hell is that? That is a perfect wallpaper for my YouTube channel. Thank you, Unity, for whatever this is. After a lot of fixes and tweaks, this is the final behavior of the rifle enemy. I'm not supposed to give a personal opinion, but that looks pretty sick. Or thick, I'm not sure which is the right word in the modern English. And I applied the more complex animator to the pistol police as well. Now the battle between women is truly epic. The men in this city have two choices, run or spectate. And they always choose spectate. A game about vampires isn't really a game about vampires if you can't drain people. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any vampire animations on Mixamo, but I have a very clever trick to work around that. I'll show it to you in a minute, but first I need to bring the UI back on screen. I expected this to be the easiest part of my challenge, but somehow it took a whopping 30 minutes to get it working and fix all the bugs. I didn't change the pixel art style to avoid wasting time, but I'll definitely have to fix that in the future. Oh wow, my post already got 11 likes already? And you haven't liked this video yet? Strange fact, people who skip liking videos tend to lose socks in the laundry at double the normal rate. Not a threat, just statistics. Okay, now about the trick I mentioned. Instead of using a proper vampire animation, I downloaded a zombie bite animation. Do vampires bite like zombies? Not exactly. Do I care? Absolutely not. If the victims are on the ground, it works. And guess what? Thanks to ragdolls, they always are after just one slap. Science, magic, both. Though there's one problem with the draining. If a ragdoll falls too far from its original spot, we can still start draining from where it used to be. This happens because the citizen's main object doesn't actually move when the Ragdoll physics is enabled. But I was lucky enough to have already seen a post about this on Reddit. Should be a 2-minute fix.
I don't think so. No, 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 no. I don't think so. No, 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 no. It's never, ever, 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 ever gonna happen. I don't think so. No, 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 no. I don't think so. No, 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 no. It's never, ever, 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 ever gonna happen. Maybe someday you'll have it your way. Maybe someday it'll all work out. Until then, nope, a nope, a nope, a nope, definitely nope, a nope, nope, a nope.
2-minute fix and 48 minutes to fix the fix. Nothing unusual, just game dev. By this point, I was severely running out of time, so I just stupidly copied the code that activates draining on citizens and applied it to police if there are no citizens nearby. This is an extremely ugly and non-maintainable solution, but I didn't have another choice. Hell will surely take me if I don't refactor it in the future, but that's only future me's problem. The drain animation is a little bit glitchy, so I fixed it pretty quickly and without any bugs. Okay, the draining works perfectly, but right now it only heals the main character. In the 2D game, draining activated the upgrades UI, which is pretty important for any Vampire Survivors-like game, so I definitely need to bring it back. Luckily, I have plenty of time left for this quick and easy task. And a simple transfer of the UI to the 3D project took a little bit of 45 minutes. You should already know well that anything under 2 hours is a little bit in game dev. Then I spent 10 minutes to actually apply the taken upgrades, and with that the upgrade system is finally back. I'll show it to you in the final game trailer in just a second, but first I wanna mention that the wave manager wasn't working correctly and only spawned one type of enemy, so I spent 10 more minutes to turn the game into a demoable state, which means I went 15 minutes over my 24-hour challenge limit. But it's all for the demo's sake, so now I can finally present the final state of the game, and after that you'll hear my thoughts about this challenge and the 3D development. Enjoy! In a world where upgrades were once just dreams, one vampire dares to evolve. Born in the shadows of thousands of mediocre models, she emerges from a barely functioning ragdoll. Scientists said it couldn't be done, developers said it wasn't worth it, but in 24 hours and 15 minutes, she proved to them all that in a world where women battle and men spectate, power isn't given. It's upgraded! Health upgrade! The premium vampire life extension plan that adds just enough health to make you survive approximately 3 additional police cannonballs before becoming Ragdoll physics demonstrations. Perfect for the vampire who enjoys the psychological comfort of a slightly longer red bar while still dying at approximately the same rate. Movement speed! Unlock the ability to move with the urgency of someone who just felt the rumble in a public place after eating yesterday's sushi. Break the sound barrier in your stylish vampire heels while the police officers helplessly shoot at where you were 3 seconds ago. Attack speed! Experience the raw power of creating slightly more ragdolls per minute. Perfect for vampires who believe that quantity of slaps is better than quality. Attack power! Unleash the power of overkilling with style. Your enemies won't just be defeated, they will be emotionally devastated by the absurdity of your 500% stronger attack. They already died in one hit, but now they will die harder. Drain upgrade. Transform from a vampire who occasionally drains people to a vampire who occasionally drains people but a little bit faster. Become a vampiric equivalent of an industrial vacuum cleaner. Why sip when you can gulp? Dash upgrade. The only ability that exists in the quantum superposition of being both unlocked and completely unusable. You'll transform from someone who is unable to dash into someone who still can dash but has paid for the future access. So finally, what do I think about 3D? Was it actually easier than 2D? Well, the answer is not that simple. Working with the animator and 3D physics is actually really challenging, and there are so many ways to mess up. If the animations or physics aren't polished and completely bug-free, the game looks extremely unprofessional. In my opinion, 2D is much more forgiving in that regard. But on the other hand, it looks much better right out of the box. I mean, come on, just look at the game. Compared to the 2D version, it feels more large-scale and just looks cooler. And considering that I'm an absolutely terrible artist, 3D solves a huge problem for me, because surprisingly 3D assets are much easier to find. And even that poorly made Stickman is a masterpiece compared to my pixel art drawings. So my personal answer is yes, 3D games are much more rewarding to develop than 2D, and I'm definitely going to keep making 3D games, and this game in particular. If you worked with both, what do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And just to be fair about the results of this challenge, this was 24 working hours, sleeping and eating were not included. Except for the times I ate while working, but that's beside the point. Also, I reused code from my 2D game and had a lot of prior experience with programming in general. But hey, if this challenge proved anything, it's that taking on something bigger than before is absolutely worth it. So go and test your own limits. And we'll meet in the next devlog, where I'm leveling up the game feel. Blood particles, flash effects, a reworked shooting system, and maybe something even cooler. I don't know, just see for yourself, come on.